Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karunam Gana Ganatam Samsaradava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Prapta Sakalyana Gurunana Vasya Bande Guru Shicharanara Vrindam Prapta Sakalyana Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Mahaprabhu ki Tananita Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Romancha Kampasru Taranga Bhajo Pande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shri Vigrahara Dhananityanana Shringaratanama Diramajanado Shri Vigrahara Dhananityanana Shringaratanama Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyonjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Shratana Truptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Kridvaiva Trupti Vajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Shiradikama Dabayara Para Madhura Leela Guna Rupa Namna Shiradika Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalupasa Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanara Ne Kunjayono Rati Kelisidai Jajali Ver Joktir Apekshaneya Nikunjayona Ratikelisida Jajali Ver Tatrati daksha ativalavasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Sakcha Dharitena Shamasta Shashren Ruktastathava Vyataiva Sadave Sakya Dharitena Kintu Pravarja Priya eva tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasada Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Dayam Stuvam Tasa Yasa Train Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Mine Nama Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Desha Taurine Namaste Deve Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Desha Taurine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Nityananda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram, Hare Nama Krishna Jadavaye Nama Jadavaye Madhavaye Kesavaye Nama Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Adita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jai Vishnu Paraparamsa Prabhajaka Acharya Sutta Rasarashi Srimad. His Divine Grace of Bhaktivinoda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Pratishta Vividi Samstapakachara Vaishnava Ceremony. Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Gauriya Guru Vargapati Udhar Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind Ki Jai. Prem Si Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Jai Param Dayal Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Premanama Sankirtan Eka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandana Shriman Gauranga Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaurhari Mahavranavatar Ki Jai. Golokera Pramadhana Harinam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai. Yuga Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Brihat Midanga translated book distribution Seva Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Radha Kund Samakund Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrajabhum Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jai Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhav Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadvip Eka Chakra Dham Ki Jai. Parama Karuna Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. Shri Purushottama Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smaspadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanishingare Bhagavan Ki Jai. Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman Ji Ki Jai. Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Mati Radharani Ki Jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaurari Pramanande. All glory to the Assembly Bodies. All glory to the Assembly Bodies. All glory to the Assembly Bodies. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Pralada da 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 ine. Pralada la da da ine. Hiranyakasipu Vaksa. Hiranyakasipu Vaksa. Silatangkana kalaye. Silatangkana kalaye. Ito nisingo parato nisinga. Ito nisingo parato nisinga. Jata jata jami tata nisinga. Jaya jata jata jami tata nisinga. Bayi nisinga, hrudaye nisinga. Bayi nisinga, hrudaye nisinga. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Tabakara Kamalavare Nakam Adabutta Singha Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanavringa Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadesare Jai Jagadesare Jai Jagadesare Tavakara Kamalavare Naka Adavutta Singha Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanavinga Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jaya Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jai Jagadisare Jaya Nisengade, Jaya Nisengade, Nisengade, Jaya Nisengade. Jaya Narahari, Jaya Narahari, Narahari, Jaya Narahari. Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev. Shri Bhakti Parasara Vignashra Kanishingare Bhagavan ki jai. Bhakta Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Nitai Gaurari Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namaha. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai.
Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Nama
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo.
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Nama
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namo.
Radha Krishna Seva Bhavo Heya Vilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Heya Vilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Heya Vilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Heya Vilasi
Jitsomaya Sharanaloy Tara Vansha Purnahoy
Jitomara Sharanala Tara Bancha Puna
Kripa Kori Korotare Vrindavanavasi
Kripa Kare Karatare Vrindavanavasi
Moraya Vilas Vilas Kunje Diyavas
Moraya Vela Vela Sakunje Diyava
Nayane Heribosada Jugala Ruparasi
Aminayane Bosada Jugala Ruparasi
Hey Nivedana Jaro Sakir Anugata Koro
Ene Vedana Dhara Sakirayano Batakara
Seva Harikara Diye Koro Nijadasi
Seva Yade Kara Diye Kara Nijadasi
Dina Krishna Dase Koi Eye Namorahoy
Dina Krishna Dase Koi Eye Namora
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Nabasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Navasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Nabasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaye Navasi
Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma Tyati Kani Cha Tani Tani Prana Shanti Pradakshina Pade Pade
Jani Kani Sapapani Brahma Hatyare Anisa Tani Tani Prana Sante Pradakshina Pade Pade
Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma Tyati Kani Cha Tani Tani Prana Shanti Pradakshina Pade Pade
Jani Kani Sapapani Brahma Hatyane Kanisa Tani Tani Prana Sante Pradakshina Pade Pade
Yani Kani Chapapani Brahma Tyati Kani Cha Tani Tani Prana Shanti Pradakshina Pade Pade
Jani Kani Sapapani Brahma Tarikani Sa Taritani Prana Santi Parachana Padeva
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda.
Nitagora Haribol, 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 Nitagora Haribol.
Haribo, 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 Nitagora Haribo. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavatai Namo Namah. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. What exalt of your wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident over in Vrindavan. My desire that you also give me a residence and pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision, I would always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kaveri damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always fame and love Shri Radha and Govind. Shri Mati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai. Tito Dapanam Marjanam Vamada Vakinivapanam Shreyakar Vachandika Vituranam Nitya Maduti Nivanam Ananda Buddhivakanam Buddhipadam Puna Niyamitasmaranena kala. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Ki Jai. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of condition of life of repeated births and death. This Sankirtan movement is the primary direction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully test the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can bring all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet some rather fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the lotus feet. O my Lord, nor will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name. Or will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and shall remain so.
Using the hands which me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken
by not being present before me.
He is completely free.
To do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Jai Shri 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 Krishna Ki Jai. Namo Mahabharata Krishna Prema Krishna Krishna. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that must be avoided. They are as follows: 1, to blaspheme the devotees who dedicate life or propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2, to consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4, to blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of Vedic creation. 5, to consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6, to give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7, to limit simple activities and strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8, to
Consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities of karma kanda to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Do not have complete faith in chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desitarine Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraja Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Janmad Yasya Yato Nivayadi Taratascha Teswa Vigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muyantiyat Surayaha Tejo Varimadam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargomesha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva,
O my Lord, Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva,
O all-pervading personality of Godhead,
O all-pervading personality of God,
I offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
I offer my respectful blessings unto
I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth
I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth
and the primeval cause of all causes,
and the primeval cause of all
of
God,
the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe.
of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested
He is
universe.
directly and indirectly conscious of all
He is
manifestations,
directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him.
And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of
It is
Brahmaji,
only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of
the
Brahma,
original living
the
being.
original living
By
being.
him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion,
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into
as one is
illusion,
bewildered by the illusory representations
as one is bewildered by the illusory
of water seen on
representations
fire or land seen on
of
water.
water seen the fire of land seen on the water.
Only because of him do the material universes,
Only because of him do the material universe,
temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature,
appear factual although they are unreal.
appear factual, although they
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri
who is
Krishna,
eternally existent in the transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent in the
which is forever free from the illusory representations in the material world.
which is forever free from the illusory representation of
I
material.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
I meditate upon him for he is the
Dharma
absolute
projita kaitravota,
Dharma Prajita Kaitu
paramo nirmatsaranam satam,
Paramo Nirmashwanam Satam
vedyam vastavam atra vastu,
Vedyam Vastavam Astravas
shivadam tapatrayon mulanam,
Shivadam Tapo Trayamana
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite,
Shrimad Vite Mahamuni
Kim va purer Ishvaraha,
Kimva Parish
Sadyo Hridi Avarudyate Tra,
Sadhurudya Varidya Titra
Krite Behi Sususabhistakshana,
Kriti Shushushubhistatina,
completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
completely rejecting all religious activities from material
This
body.
Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavata Purana proclaims a
which is
high
understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure.
The highest truth is reality distinguished from an illusion for the welfare of all.
The highest truth, their reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare.
Such truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Such a truth uproots the twofold.
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity
It's a beautiful Bhagavatam from Bhagavad Gita yesterday.
is sufficient in itself for God realization.
It's sufficient itself for God.
What is the need of any other scripture?
What is the need of the other
As
scripture?
soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of
by
Bhagavatam,
this culture of
by
knowledge,
this culture of
the
knowledge,
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
the Supreme Lord is established within his
Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam,
Nigama Kalpatar Galitam Phalam,
sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam,
Shukamakhat Amrita Dravasam,
pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam,
Vibhata Bhagavatam Rasamaya,
muhur aho raska bhuvibhavakaha,
Hura Hura Sikab,
O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad
O
Bhagavatam,
expert and thoughtful man, relish
the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures.
the mature fruit, the desired tree of Vedic.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva
It
Goswami.
emanated from the lips of Shishukadeva.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more
Although
tasteful.
its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including the great soul.
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Shambhatam Swakata Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Hridyantak Stohi Bhadrani,
Hridyantastu Yavada,
Vidunati Suhitsatam.
Vidunati Surisa.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures,
To hear about Krishna from the Vedic
or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from it directly through the
is
Bhagavad
itself righteous activity.
Gita, it is self-righteous activity.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for one who hears about
Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna is dwelling within
acts
everyone,
as a best wishing friend
acts as the
and
best
purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him.
and purifies the body's constantly engages in hearing.
Nasta presu bhadresu
Nasta Praisha Bhadishu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Se
bhagavati uttama sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
bhaktir bhavati naistaki.
Bhakti Bhagavati Nasti.
In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge.
In this way, the devotee naturally develops dormant transcendence.
As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
and from the devotees,
and from the
he
devotees,
becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
he becomes fixed in devotional service of the Lord.
Tadarajas tomo bhava
Darajastamo Bhava
kamalobhadayaschaye
Kamalobhadayasam
cheta etaranavidam
Chitaitaranavidam
stitvam sattve prasidati.
Stitam Salve Prasidati.
By development of devotional service,
By development of devotional
one
service,
becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance,
one becomes freed from the modes of passion,
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
and thus material lust and avarice are
Evam
diminished.
prasana manaso
Evam prasanna manasa
bhagavat bhakti yogataha
Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga
bhagavat tattva vijnanam
Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana
mukta sangasya jayate.
Mukta Sangasa Jayate.
When these impurities are wiped away,
When these impurities are wiped
the
away,
candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness,
the candidate remains steady in position,
becomes
of
enlivened by devotional service,
enlivened with devotional service,
and understands the science of God perfectly.
and understands the science of God.
Vidyate hridaya grantis,
Vidyate Hridaya Granthi,
chidyante sarvasamsaya,
Chidyante Sarvasam,
shiyante jasya karmani,
Chiyante Chasakarmani,
drista evat manishvare.
Drutas Edvatmanishvari.
Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material
Thus the
affection
Bhakti Yoga serves the heart of material
and enables one to come at once to a stage of samsayam samagram,
and enables us to come at once to the stage of assumption,
understanding of the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead.
understanding the supreme absolute truth, personality of God.
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotees in Krishna consciousness
can one understand the science of Krishna.
can one understand the science of
Shri
Krishna.
Shri Guru Vastika prayers, Ki Jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it.
The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it.
So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence.
So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material
I offer my
existence.
respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious qualities.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is an ocean of
Chanting the holy
auspicious
names,
qualities.
dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments.
Chanting the holy name, dancing next to singing and playing musical
The
instruments.
spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan moment of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind.
because he's relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his
Sometimes
mind.
his hair stands on end.
Sometimes his hair stands
He feels quivering in his body,
He feels quivering in his body,
and tears flow from his eyes like waves.
and tears flow from his eye like
And for my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful blessings unto Lord of such a
The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna.
The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shishurada.
He also engages his disciples in such worship.
He also engages his disciples in such
They
worship.
dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments,
They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments,
clean their temple,
clean their temple,
and perform other similar worship of the Lord.
and perform other similar worship.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
I offer my respectful blessings unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual.
The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food.
The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food.
Analyzed as that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked.
Analyze that which is belief, truth, frankincense.
When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasada,
When the spiritual master sees the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad
he
Prasada,
is satisfied.
he is satisfied.
I offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
Offer my respectful basis and lotus to such a spiritual.
The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava.
The spiritual master is so eager to hear and chant on unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava,
And their qualities, names, and forms.
and their qualities, names, and forms.
The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment.
The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment.
I offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
Offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of such a spiritual
The
master.
spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana.
The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's loving affairs in Vrindavan.
I offer my most humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master.
Offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual
The
master.
spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord.
The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant of the Lord.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities.
Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna.
Therefore, I offer my humble obeisance unto the Lord of such a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari
By the
Krishna.
mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receive the benediction of Krishna.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement.
Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advance.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master.
Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master.
At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master.
At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance to the Lord of my spiritual master.
Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai, Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam.
Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana.
Chintamani Prakara Satma Sukalpa Vriksha
Tintamani Prakada Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha.
Lakshavrite Susurabhira Vipaliyantam
Lakshya Vridesh Surabhira Vipalayantam.
Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam
Lakshmi Sahasha Satasam Brahma Sevyama.
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Venam Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam
Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dayalataksham.
Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam
Haram Vada Samasitam Buddha Sundaranga.
Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham
Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha.
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamsi
Alola Chandakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi.
Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam
Ranangadam Pranaya Kilikala Vilasam.
Shyamam Tribanga Lalitam Niyata Prakasam
Syamam Trimangalalitam Niyata Prakasam.
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti
Angani Yasa Sakalindriya Vrittimanti.
Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti
Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti.
Ananta Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya
Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigraha.
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam
Advitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam.
Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha
Adyam Purana Purusham Navajovanam.
Vede Sudurlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto
Vedeshu Durlabham Durlabham Atmabhakti.
Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham.
Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo
Pantastu Koti Sadavatsara Sampragami.
Vayoratapi Manaso Munipungamanam
Vayurathapi Manaso Munipungavana.
Sophyasti yat prapadasim yavichintyatve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Kotim Yat Shaktir Asti Jagadanda Chaya Yadanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Shaitam Jagadanda Kotim. I'm sorry. Okay. Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manujastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Yanasana Bhusaha Sukta Yameva Nigama Patitaistuvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text number 7. Vikramo Bhurbhuva Swascha Shamasya Saranasya Cha Sarvakama Varasyapi Haresh Charana Aspadam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. For absolute protection from all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not only in this planet, but also in all the upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This absolute dependence on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service. And it is directly hinted at within this passage. No one should have any kind of doubt in this matter, nor should one be inclined to seek the help of any other demigods, because all of them are dependent on Him only. Everyone except the Lord Himself is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Even the all-pervading Supersoul is also dependent on the supreme aspect of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus, the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is an extremely important verse because the whole life and culture of Krishna consciousness and practice of Krishna consciousness depends on understanding this verse. That is, as it said also in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Saranam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Muksesyami Ma Suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is the ultimate statement that should reassure us that we don't need anything else except Krishna's mercy. And Krishna's mercy includes His protection. As it says, Anukulyena Sankalpa Pratikulyena Varjanam. Raksisyaititi Raksisyaititi Vishvaso Gopyutre Varanam Tata Atmaniksepa Karpanya Sad Vidad Saranam Gati. So its verses are extremely important, especially Raksisyaititi Vishvaso. The Lord is promising unequivocally His protection for His devotee. This is what keeps a person in Krishna consciousness despite even the most harrowing and difficult situations in life. because they're absolutely sure of the protection of the Lord. And if we waver in that determination, we fall down. And obviously, every one of us are going to be tested by Maya and then by Krishna also. So it's up to us to have faith in this ultimate verse of Bhagavad Gita, where at the end he says, Ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshisyami mahasucha. That I will give you all protection from sinful reactions and deliver you, therefore do not fear. Now, the whole material nature and existence in the material world is based on fear, because we have a temporary body and an eternal soul. So as long as we're attached to the temporary body, we're fearful, because anything can happen at any time. Just like a couple days ago, an Indian gentleman, young guy, only 31 years old, an IT person who's making a lot of money, has a very attractive wife and a beautiful little daughter. He went swimming in Sammamish Lake. And amazingly, it says that he was like up to his waist in the water, and some kind of underwater tide came and swept him away, and he drowned. And he's dead. It all happened very quickly. Now, I never knew that there were underwater tides in Lake Sammamish. I guess I should know that, but I never knew that. And he's not the first person. He's not the first Indian who has drowned in Lake Sammamish. There are others that have drowned there, and there are other people also, non-Indians, that have drowned in Lake Sammamish. So it looks like there must be some demon in that lake that's grabbing people and dragging them down into death. Anyway, this person was not a devotee, obviously, and he was enjoying material life. He's got a nice job, nice money, nice house, nice car, nice wife, nice child, and he took a nice bath or a nice swim. I don't even know if he was swimming. It only says he was waist deep in the water, and then some tide came or something happened, and he was pulled down and killed. So this is real reality in the material world. At any moment we can die. Any moment. Anybody. The most powerful person and the most miserable person, the most qualified person, anyone can die at any moment. Therefore, the devotee, understanding this, actually accepts the statement, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshisyami mahasucha. The Lord is guaranteeing the protection of the devotee from all sinful reactions, because we suffer due to sinful reactions. So if he protects us from all sinful reactions, we're not going to be affected by them. It doesn't mean they don't happen. It just means that we're not affected by them. Why? Because we have absolute certitude that the Lord is going to protect us, even in the most difficult situations. Therefore, we continue devotional service in spite of all difficulties. And this is extremely important point. Otherwise, it's very easy that we could waver and become doubtful and then leave Krishna consciousness because of difficult situations. So, Prabhupada says, according to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. This is a purport from the 18th chapter, 66th verse, and it's in the third paragraph, and it says, anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided, like swimming in Lake Sammamish. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. That's the point. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. Now, you see, that statement, there is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. That's a repetition of a verse in the 10th chapter. It's a repetition of one of the nutshell verses where it says, so that it's 10th chapter, verse 11, where it says, the ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. See, that's the point. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes freed from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. That's the fundamental point. And this is almost impossible for people to understand. So, what do you mean? I give up my job? I give up my 401k? I mean, I can't believe that. I mean, you're saying Krishna's going to take care of me? I don't believe it. Well, that's exactly what happened when Prabhupada came and was preaching. Many people, like myself, gave up everything we had. Everything, every last penny. And we just surrendered. And whatever Prabhupada said, that's what we did. That's how the movement dynamically expanded in those first years from 1966 to 1977. There's tremendous expansion of the movement because everyone came and they just gave up everything. So I had a scholarship, 4-year scholarship to get a master's degree, and then after that, another 3-4 years to get a PhD. I gave it up. I completely surrendered and started doing Sankirtan, going out chanting in the streets. And then I had some relatives in France, and sometimes they would see me chanting in the street, they would just shake their head, you know, they said, what a waste. I would see them, you know, they come by and they make faces and you know, jeer at me, you know, they say, you're crazy, you know. But that didn't deter me. You know, I just stayed connected to Prabhupada and Krishna. So, this is further explained more deeply in the 8th canto, 21st chapter, verse 29 to 36. And it's talking about Bali Maharaj, verse 28 to 36. And it says, O king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vamanadev, then spoke to Bali Maharaj, the most liberal and celebrated personality whom he, meaning the Lord, had arrested with the ropes of Varuna. Bali Maharaj had lost all bodily luster, but he was nonetheless fixed in his determination. What was his determination? That is, to give everything to Lord Vishnu, who came as a dwarf and Brahmana. And his guru, Sukracharya, warned him, don't give him a damn penny. He'll take everything away from you. There won't be any, I won't be able to get my salary at the end of the month. And He said, if you give him anything, I curse you. I curse you to lose everything you have. And Bali Maharaj was thinking, wow, that's not a curse, that's a blessing. If I lose everything to Lord Vishnu, that's the purpose of life. It actually belongs to him, it doesn't belong to me. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, when one is bereft of all his possessions, he is certainly reduced in bodily luster. But although Bali Maharaja had lost everything, he was fixed in his determination to satisfy Vamanadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, such a person is called Stita Pragya. So where's that Stita Pragya? It's the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where it says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati Yadikamam Sarvam Partha Manogatan Atmani Avatmana Tusta Stita Pragyas Taduchyate. So there it is, Stita Pragyas. And what does Stita Pragyas means? It means transcendentally situated. This verse says, the second chapter, 55th verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he's said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. This is a beautiful verse. It has a lot of deep meanings to it. But the main thing is giving up desire for sense gratification. And it says, which arises from mental concoction. What is a mental concoction? Oh, if I invest in this stock, I'll make a lot of money. Or if I buy this house, it will go up in value and I can sell it and make a lot of money. Or if I start this business, then I can make a lot of money. And the more money I have, the more sense gratification I'll have. So this is all mental speculation or mental concoctions. Does it mean that if they start a business they won't make a lot of money? No, not necessarily. They might be very successful. But all their time for engaging in Krishna consciousness can be taken away. Because businesses are very entangling. So Prabhupada said when he first met his Guru Dev, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, told him in the first 30 seconds or 1 minute of their conversation that he should dedicate his life to propagating Krishna consciousness throughout the world, especially the English-speaking world. And Prabhupada remarks that he did not think he was ready to do that because he had recently become married. He already had one child, I think. And he had a business, and he was thinking, well, let me make a lot of money with the business, and with all that money, I'll spread Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada says that was a mistake, right? But he did it anyway, and but it deterred him from doing what his Guru Dev told him to do. But he always kept his Guru Dev's instruction in his mind and prepared himself so that he could do it later on in life, which he did. Right? But he says, it would have been better if he had just started right then, when he was in 1922. Anyway, we see how married life is very entangling. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's entangling. And, you're going to spend 50 or more percentage of your time maintaining the family. And so that diminishes the time you have for Krishna consciousness. But if one manages things properly, they can do both. So in this verse again, the second chapter, 55th verse, it says, the purport says, the Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service to the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendently situated has no good qualifications, because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Whoa! Taking refuge in our own mental concoctions. Imagine what that means. It has huge meaning. Because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation, for this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord. So that's what Stita Prajna means. Being completely satisfied simply by dint of being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So then it says, back to 8:21-28, a pure devotee is never deviated from the service of the Lord, despite all difficulties and impediments offered by the illusory energy. Generally, men who have wealth and opulence are famous, but Bali Maharaja became famous for all time by being deprived of all his possessions. So most people like Bezos and so forth, they're famous because they have so many possessions, right? Bali Maharaj was famous because he gave everything up. Imagine that. He's more famous than Bezos. Much more famous. This is the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead toward his devotees. The Lord says, Yasyaham anugrinami harishita danam sanai. As the first installment of his special favor, the Lord takes away all the possessions of his devotee. A devotee, however, is never disturbed by such a loss. He continues his service, and the Lord amply rewards him beyond the expectations of any common man. Amazing statement by Prabhupada. Amazing statement. So then the next verse says, the king of the demons, O king, so Krishna or Vamanadeva is speaking to Bali Maharaj. He says, O king of the demons. So Bali Maharaj, although his grandfather was Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj was the son of Hiranyakashipu, so Prahlad Maharaj became king of the whole universe that his father had conquered. And Prahlad was the king of the demons. And now, later on, his grandson, Bali Maharaj, is also king of the demons, right? But he happens to be a devotee. And his guru was guru of the demons. And because his guru told him to do something that was not Krishna conscious, that means rejecting the opportunity to give something to Lord Vishnu, he rejected his guru. So, O king of the demons, you have promised to give me 3 steps of land, but I have occupied the entire universe with 2 steps. Now think about where I should put my 3rd step. As far as the sun and moon shine with the stars, and as far as the clouds pour rain, all the land throughout the universe is in your possession. Of these possessions, with 1 step I've occupied Burloka, and with my body I've occupied the entire sky in all directions, and in your presence, with my 2nd step, I have occupied the upper planetary systems. So you have Bur, Bhuva, Swar, the 3 levels of planets. Right? In the purport, Prabhupada says, according to the Vedic description of the planetary system, all the planets move from east to west. The sun, the moon, and 5 other planets, such as Mars and Jupiter, orbit one above another. Vamanadeva, however, expanding his body and extending his steps, occupied the entire planetary system. Verse 32. Because you have been unable to give charity according to your promise, the rule is that you should go down to live in the hellish planets. Therefore, in accordance with the order of Sukracharya, your spiritual master, now go down and live there. So he's being cursed by the Lord to live in the heaven and on the demoniac planets. And the purport, this is a really nice purport, Prabhupada says, it is said, Narayana parasarve na kutaschana bibyati swarga pavarga narkesu apitulyarta darshanam. Can you tell them to stop talking? Having a good time there. Laughing, giggling. Did you tell them? Open the curtain right here. Just say, please keep quiet. No, just open it up. Open it up so they can just see you. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. That means you can serve Krishna even in hell. It's good news. Very good news. Bhagavatam 6:17-28. A devotee engaged in the service of Narayana is always in equilibrium. In other words, they're never shaken in their determination to serve Krishna. A devotee actually lives transcendentally. Although he may appear to have gone to hell or heaven, he does not live in either place. Rather, he always lives in Vaikuntha, Sagunam Samatityaita Brahmabhuyaya Kalpata. Vamanadeva asked Bali Maharaj to go to the hellish planets, apparently just to show the entire universe how tolerant he was. And Bali Maharaj did not hesitate to carry out the order. A devotee does not live alone. Of course, everyone lives with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because the devotee is engaged in his service, he actually does not live in any material condition. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kita janma hao yata tuya dasa. Thus he prays to take birth as an insignificant insect in the association of devotees. Because devotees are engaged in the service of the Lord, anyone who lives with them also lives in Vaikuntha. So this is the point. Prabhupada really drives it home. That even in the worst adversity, the devotee is not disturbed. Because he's absolutely sure that Krishna is going to protect him. And he does not give up devotional service under any circumstances, even in the most severe circumstances. Because devotional service is absolute. So I remember one time we were arrested in Paris for chanting Hare Krishna. This was in the early days. We got arrested many times, actually, and put in jail. They usually used to keep us overnight and let us go the next day. Right? But it was very scary because, they would pull their guns out and arrest us and handcuff us and put us in the paddy wagon and we go to jail, and you have all these other criminals there. It's a pretty harrowing experience. So when we were in jail, we couldn't go back to the temple. The whole party was arrested, and we couldn't do our evening arti and cook for the deities and make offerings. So the devotee said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "We're going to do what we normally do." They said, "Well, how can we? We're not in the temple." I said, "We do it mentally." And we did it mentally. So the person that cooks, he cooked the feast. The person does the arti, he did the arti. The people who sing the arti, they sang the arti. And the person who serves the prasadam, he served the prasadam. And we did the whole thing, the whole program. But we did it all mentally. So there's no difference whether you do it mentally or you do it physically. Of course, it's only in extreme situations that you have to do it mentally. It's not that you say, "Well, today I'll just mentally do the service." Hari Vilas told me, I'll just stay at home, watch television, and do the service mentally. No, that doesn't work. But in those severe conditions, you can do it mentally, and Krishna accepts the service. So that's the point. Vamanadeva asked Bali to go to the hellish planets, apparently, just to show the entire universe how tolerant Bali Maharaj was. And Bali Maharaj did not hesitate to carry out the order of the Lord. And then it says, "Far from being elevated to the heavenly planets or fulfilling one's desire, one who does not properly give a beggar what he has promised falls down to a hellish condition of life." Whoa, be careful what you promise now. If you promise something and don't keep the promise, you could end up in hell. "Being falsely proud of your possessions. You promised to give me land, but you could not fulfill your promise. Therefore, because your promise was false, you must live for a few years in hellish life." Purport: the false prestige of thinking, "I am very rich and I possess such vast property," is another side of material life. Everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no one else possesses anything. This is the real fact. Ishavaisham idam sarvam jatkinja jagatyam jagat. That means that everything in creation is owned and controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Ishavaisham, the Supreme Controller. Bali Maharaj was undoubtedly the most exalted devotee, whereas previously he had maintained a misunderstanding due to false prestige. He was thinking, I'm the owner of the whole universe. That was his mistake. So Vamanadeva took everything away from him, including his body. Because Vamana said, in 2 steps I overstepped the whole universe, but you promised me 3 steps. So where am I going to put the 3rd step? So Bali Maharaj said, "Put it on my head, please. Take me also. My body also belongs to you." Okay. By the supreme will of the Lord, he now had to go to the hellish planets, but because he went there by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he lived there more opulently than one could expect to live in the planets of heaven. A devotee always lives with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, engaging in his service, and therefore he's always transcendental to hellish or heavenly residences. So this is real knowledge now. And if we understand what's being said here, then we should never be hesitant about engaging in devotional service, because the devotional service is transcendental. It's our link to Krishna. And there's no difference between devotional service in the spiritual world and devotional service in the material world. And Krishna has the power to make everything material spiritual, and he has the power to reverse that, to make everything spiritual material. So if we engage sincerely in devotional service, then all the material things become spiritualized by Krishna's mercy. And if we don't do it, then all the so-called spiritual things become materialized, and we forget Krishna. So we have to be very careful. It all depends on our motive. So Bali Maharaj was determined that he was going to please Vamanadev. And Vamanadev curses him to live in hell. But in hell, he lives more opulently than in the spiritual, than in the heavenly planets. But this is amazing. But it's a fact. So, there's a lot more. Let's see. I don't know what happened to all those other purports I was going to read. So, yeah. So Bali Maharaj says, only by providence have I been forcibly brought under your lotus feet and deprived of all my opulence. Because of the illusion created by temporary opulence, people in general who live under material conditions, facing accidental death at every moment, do not understand that this life is temporary. Only by providence have I been saved from that condition. So it's talking about providence. That's a big word in the English language. It has a lot of meaning. But actually it's referring to Krishna's mercy. So Bali Maharaj appreciated the actions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although all the members of the demoniac families, except Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, considered Vishnu their eternal transcendental enemy. So, all the demons, they consider Krishna as their enemy. But Bali Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, who were the leaders of all the demons, did not consider Krishna an enemy. As described by Bali Maharaj, Lord Vishnu was actually not the enemy of the family, but the best friend of the family. The principle of this friendship has already been stated. Yasyaham anugrinami harisita danam sanaya. The Lord bestows special favor upon his devotee by taking away all his material possessions. Oh my God. This is his special mercy. So if you go bankrupt, don't be worried. The Lord is blessing you. Bali Maharaj appreciated this behavior of the Lord. What behavior? Taking everything away from him. Therefore he said, Daivena nita prasabam tyajita shri. It is to bring me to the right platform of eternal life that you have put me into these circumstances. Amazing. Amazing statements. If I read this to Jeff Bezos, he would say, that's nonsense. Right? But it's not nonsense, it's the truth. Actually, everyone should fear the so-called society, friendship, and love for which he worked so hard all day and night. There's this famous poet, Rudyard Kipling, in England, and he's the one that said, society, friendship, and love divinely, in other words, divinely given to mankind for happiness. But now, look what Prabhupada is saying. Actually, everyone should fear the so-called society, friendship, and love for which he works so hard all day and night. As indicated by Bali Maharaja, by the words, Janad Bitaha. Every devotee in Krishna consciousness should always be afraid of the common man engaged in pursuing material prosperity. Wow. Such a person is described as pramata, a madman chasing the will of the wisp. Such men do not know that after a hard struggle for life, one must change his body with no certainty of what kind of body he will receive next. Those who are completely established in Krishna consciousness philosophy and who therefore understand the aim of life will never take to the activities of the materialistic dog race. Whoa. But if a sincere devotee somehow does fall down, the Lord corrects him and saves him from gliding down to the darkest region of hellish life. Adanta Kopir, Vishatam Tamishram, Punak Punas Charvata Charvananam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30. The materialistic way of life is nothing but the repeated chewing of that which has already been chewed. Although there is no profit in such a life, people are enamored of it because of uncontrolled senses. Numam pramata kurute vikarma. Because of uncontrolled senses, people fully engage in sinful activities by which they get a body full of suffering. Bali Maharaj appreciated how the Lord had saved him from such a bewildered life of ignorance. He therefore said that his intelligence had been stunned. Stabda matir na budyate. He could not understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead favors his devotees by forcibly stopping their materialistic activities. Wow. These amazing statements. There's nothing like the Bhagavatam because it explains the truth that seems to be completely opposite to what we expected the truth to be. We think that material opulence and fame and all these things are blessings. But actually, they can be curses. There were blessings for Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj because they didn't waver in their determination to serve the Lord. But for other people like Bezos and Gates and Ellison and this one and that one, they're actually curses. Actually curses. Okay, so therefore we'll stop right there. Yeah. Okay, so in the second chapter, 56th verse, the last line of that verse says, consequently, the devotee is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna-conscious person is always steady in his determination. That's something we should remember. Success or no success, a Krishna-conscious person is always steady in his determination. And what is his determination? To serve Guru and Krishna and please them by following their instructions sincerely. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any questions? Oh yeah, well, it's 8th Canto, Chapter 7, verses 28 to 36. Wait a minute. Oh, now I see what happened here. No, I'm sorry. 1 second. It is It is 8th chapter, 22nd. 8th canto, 22nd chapter, verses 28 to 36. Yes. So actually, I made a mistake and read from somewhere else. Or did I? No. No, it's that 8:22, 28 to 36. Actually, I made what happened was I started there, but then I went somewhere else by accident. And I'm not sure where I went now. Anyway, we'll go over this again tomorrow. I won't make that mistake again. Yeah, I felt as if I was making a mistake because I missed some purports that I wanted to read because probably the pages turned and I didn't notice it. But the purports that I did read seemed to support the same point, So, so that's interesting, very interesting, how things happen. Yeah, 821, exactly right. 821:28. Let me see that. Yeah, exactly right. And then I didn't understand. Then I went to 33. Yeah, and I didn't realize I made that mistake, and I felt as if I was missing something, and I did. I was missing those latter verses in 8:22. So, but it supported the same point, right? So we'll go over that tomorrow. Yes, yes. Very interesting how that happened. Okay. Hare Krishna. Yes.
One question is, you have explained about do not fear. So, but if the situation, they are very happy, one person is very happy, suddenly situation changes in no time, the person is in fear. Maybe let's say some snake thing, it comes in front of that person. From happiness to,
That happened yesterday at the farm.
yeah, it's not, I was there. So that's I'm using that example just for putting question. But the idea is like, that happens many times from very good, like happiness to full fear. So is it a lack of faith in Krishna or what? Like where we are lacking, where one is lacking?
Well, if you understand that the Lord is testing you, then you won't be fearful. Because the Lord also promises to protect this devotee. But he doesn't promise never to test his devotee. So we're all going to be tested at some time or other. And we should not be afraid of it. Look what happened to Bali Maharaj. He's famous because he lost everything. And but see, that was what I was missing. So let me just read that real quickly. The whole idea is that he lost everything, right? But in the end, he gained much more than what he lost, because he gained a planet that was amongst the demons, amongst the hellish planets, lower planets, but he got an eternal planet, and Lord Vishnu became his doorkeeper to protect him from the demons and from the demigods. So he got something that was more than what much more than what he was king of the whole universe, right? But he was still subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. But now he got an eternal planet with the Lord present, even though it's in the demoniac lower planets. Right? What? Yeah. Yeah, I said that because of his great tolerance, I have given him a place not obtainable even by the demigods. He will become king of the heavenly planets during the period of the Manu known as Savarni. This is the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if the Lord takes away a devotee's material opulences, the Lord immediately offers him a position of which the demigods cannot even dream. There are many examples of this in the history of devotional service. One of them is the opulence of Sudama Vipra. Sudama Vipra suffered severe material scarcity, but he was not disturbed and did not deviate from devotional service. Thus, he was ultimately given an exalted position by the mercy of Lord Krishna. Here, the word Mad Ashraya is very significant because the Lord wanted to give Bali Maharaj the exalted position of Indra. The demigods might naturally have been envious of him and might have fought to disturb his position. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead assured Bali Maharaj that he would always remain under the Lord's protection, Mad Ashraya. So, even because Bali Maharaj had such an opulent planet now in the lower planetary systems, there was a risk that Indra would try and attack him. So the Lord himself became the protector, and he's present on that planet, and that's an eternal planet in the material world. So it says, until Bali Maharaj achieves the position of King of Heaven, he shall live on the planet Sutala, which was made by Vishwakarma according to my order, meaning Krishna's order. Because it is especially protected by me, it is free from mental and bodily miseries, fatigue, dizziness, defeat, and all other disturbances. Bali Maharaj, you may now go live there peacefully. So he gets this planet built by Vishwakarma himself, right? So when Vishwakarma builds something, all the buildings and the whole place, the whole environment, is free of disease, free of death, free of old age, and so forth. It shows how architecture can have a very, very significant influence on people. So then it says, O Bali Maharaj, Indra Sena. So he's like the second Indra, right? Now you may go to the planet Sutala, which is desired even by the demigods. Live there peacefully, surrounded by your friends and relatives. All good fortune unto you. Bali Maharaj was transferred from the heavenly planet to the planet Sutala, which is hundreds of times better than heaven, as indicated by the words Swargi Bihi Partyam. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead deprives his devotee of material opulences, this does not mean that the Lord puts him into poverty. Rather, the Lord promotes him to a higher position. The Supreme Personality of Godhead did not ask Bali Maharaj to separate from his family. Instead, the Lord allowed him to stay with his family members. Yati bihi parivaritaha. On the planet Sutala, not even the predominating deities of other planets, what to speak of ordinary people, will be able to conquer you. As far as the demons are concerned, if they transgress your rule, my disc will kill them. So Lord Vishnu is personally protecting Bali Maharaj on this Sutala planet, which is in the demoniac world or the lower planets, from Indra and from the demons. O great hero, I shall always be with you and give you protection in all respects, along with your associates and paraphernalia. Moreover, you will always be able to see me there. Because there you will see my supreme prowess, your materialistic ideas and anxieties will have that have arisen from your association with the demons and Danavas will immediately be vanquished. The Lord assured Bali Maharaj of all protection, and finally the Lord assured him of protection from the effects of bad association with the demons. Bali Maharaj certainly became an exalted devotee, but he was somewhat anxious because his association was not purely devotional. The Supreme Personality of Godhead therefore assured him that his demoniac mentality would be annihilated. In other words, by the association of devotees, the demoniac mentality is vanquished. When a demon associates with devotees engaged in glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he gradually becomes a pure devotee. So that was the part I wanted to read, and I went somewhere else. Okay. Bali Maharaj ki jai. Go to Premanandi Hari Bol. Well, tomorrow you better come with your seat belts, because what we're going to hear is absolutely horrifying. But we'll save that for Monday when you're. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Satma Kevala Bhakati Satma Bandamui Savadana Mate Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Satma Mando Mui Savadana Mate Janara Prasade Mai E Baba Toriya Jai Krishna Prapti Oya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya Arana Koriya Mane Asa Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Yutam Magati Ye Prasade Arana Kuru Ye Prasade Pure Savasa Chaksudan Dilaje Janmi Janmi Prabhu se Divya Yani Devokasito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasajate Vedega Janara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya Ebeyas Kusikhi Bhuvana Ebeyas Kusikhi Bhuvana Ebeyas Kusikhi Bhuvana Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasyajate Zatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vindam Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Gora Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajika Shastra Tara Satara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Giri Godam Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Samavela Bhakti Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanand. All glories to the Assembled Devotees, all glories to the Assembled Devotees, all glories to the Assembled Devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavani Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendent knowledge. He is my Lord and Bhakta above. From him ecstatic ceremony, my name is noticed to this book. The Vedic scriptures singing of his character. How Krishna is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the